Hello and welcome to a playoff edition of the Puck Junk podcast, where today we will talk about the first round of the playoffs and a couple of other hockey odds and ends as this hockey season is simultaneously winding down but also heating up. Sal Berry here, along with Tim Parish, the real DFG on Twitter. And Tim, you got to be pretty happy with the way things have unfolded in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be happy? When your team advances, you got to be happy. The Pens, let's put it this way. I didn't expect them to be out of that in 5. I thought that series was going to go the distance, but surprisingly enough, Columbus couldn't hang. So
I thought it was going to go 7. I thought it was going to go 7. I knew, I don't want to say I knew the Penguins were going to win, because you know what? I didn't make any public predictions, and honestly, I'm kind of tired of it's fun to read playoff predictions, but I just don't put too much into it because, look, if you pick the team that wins, if you say Penguins in 5 and Penguins win in 5, you'll be like, oh, I told everyone Penguins in 5, and I'm right. And if the Penguins win in 6 instead of 5, you'll be like, well, I was close, And then if the Penguins were upset, then it'd be like, well, that was an upset, and that's not what was supposed to happen. And so, I mean, we're all just kind of guessing. That's all it is. I mean, we're just guessing here. So, I'm done with doing predictions. Although I would have predicted the Blackhawks in 6,
as most people did. I mean, how many of the talking heads on TV had the Blackhawks and the Capitals in the finals? Like a ton. A ton of sports writers and talking heads on TV. That's what they had, and now brackets have been busted.
Yes, so. and it's funny too because I thought that San Jose would upset Edmonton. Actually, I was kind of hoping for that, and it didn't happen. And I was kind of actually I didn't really care between St. Louis and Minnesota. I didn't really care what team or Calgary and Anaheim. I didn't really care.
But here's the thing though. Do you call a 2 over a 3 or a 3 over a 2? That's like 6 one, half dozen of the other. A 3 beating a 2. That to me is not an upset.
No.
But with the whole Shark, did I think the Sharks were going to win? Yes. I didn't think Edmonton would win. Experience, but then nobody expected the Sharks to come out flat every single night.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody expected their back end D to not be able to put up offensive points like they had all year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where was Brent Burns that whole entire series?
Yeah, he tried. I mean, I saw him pinch a lot, and we all did, and it just didn't happen. Yeah, he was.
I don't think they couldn't match the speed that Edmonton threw out there on the ice. So
same thing with last year against the Penguins, though. I mean, they couldn't match their speed.
Right. So that kind of tells you something about that team. And then Calgary, I don't know what happened. Calgary, I mean, they just did not even show up. Mm-hmm. They're guys that need to score. I mean, they have a player on their team. His name is Johnny Hockey. Mm-hmm. You would think he'd be good. Well, he didn't show it in the playoffs. I mean, he wasn't there at all. So, the big time players that they needed to show up didn't show up, and that was the end of Calgary. So, I'm not a huge Ducks fan, but they were the better team in that series.
How about with Boston and Ottawa?
Boston and Ottawa was a series where
it was nice to see Ottawa come out on top. I'm tired of the Bruins.
Yeah, and going into it, I didn't really think I was going to be interested in watching any of those games because Ottawa plays that trap game just like Nashville did against the Blackhawks, and it's like, is it fun to watch? No, not necessarily. If you like defense and they're your team, sure, you can sit there all day and cheer because they're shutting everybody down. But the funny part is, in the first couple games of that series, Boston showed that they could break through it. So Ottawa got kind of knocked back on their heels a little bit and had to change the game plan slightly. I mean, they still played somewhat, especially when they were trying to hold on to leads and stuff like that. But they were pretty evenly matched, I think, in that series. Same thing with the Rangers in Montreal. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect honestly, I didn't expect the Rangers to win that series, especially the first two games when they played. They looked listless. That's
Mm-hmm.
the best word I can use to describe it. 'Cause I don't even know if they were ready to play. And then here, fast forward a little bit, and they win the series. So
How
none of the
about
series went to 7 games, which
and
is
Toronto
shocking
and
to me.
Washington? I was kind of hoping for
Well,
a game
Toronto,
seven there. That would have been fun.
yeah, that was the only hope of any game 7 at that point. And I'll tell you what, Toronto gave Washington all they could handle. They gave them all they could handle, and I'm I'm pleasantly surprised by that because everybody thought going into this season with all of those rookies on that team that they'd be a couple years out of the playoffs. And here they were, pushed hard at the end, made it into a playoff position, themselves against the number one team, and showed the whole entire world that they're ready to play. So I was I watched games in that series, and they were very entertaining.
Mm-hmm. So then next round we got Nashville and St. Louis, Anaheim and Edmonton, the Rangers and Ottawa, and Washington versus Pittsburgh. And wouldn't it be funny if the finals ended up being like, oh, I don't know, Nashville and Ottawa, and like
Um,
NBC finds a reason to like not televise the games, like
yeah, I
you
was
know
gonna say. I mean, outside
they'll
of local markets,
they'll bury it on MSNBC or something, or USA or one of their other crummy cable channels like that nobody
that
watches,
sucks.
huh?
How you put two defensive trap teams against each other? I don't even know how you play against each other that way. If you're both trying to do the same thing,
I'm not
you
touching you.
basically
I'm
like
not
line
touching
up at the
you.
blue
I'm not
line.
touching you. I'm not
Yeah,
touching you.
you both line up at the blue line and just pass the puck back and forth, and that's pretty much it.
So
Yeah, I don't know that we'll see something like that.
nah,
Um,
just be
I
funny.
I think one of the powerhouse teams from the East will still make their way through. I think it'll be Washington or Pittsburgh that'll carry the thing to the
Yeah, I
finals.
think so. I
Um,
think so.
I would hate to go out on a limb and say which one it is, but I think it'll be one of them. Um, the Nashville series against the Blues will be interesting because you basically got the two goaltenders in the playoffs right now facing each other now
Mm-hmm.
with Pekka
Mm-hmm.
Rinne, Jake Allen. Nobody expected Jake Allen to play like this, I don't think. If
Especially
there's
after
anybody
that
that did, it was
slump.
yeah. I mean, anybody that did think he was going to play this way was probably his parents, and that's about it. Because I didn't expect him to come out there and play as well as he has, but good on him to do so.
Ah, well,
And the
I guess you
fact
could
that
thank the assistant general manager for turning Allen's season around.
I mean, he, he's a good goaltender. Don't get me wrong, but to be playing like he's outside of his element right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's good. That's great for St. Louis.
Well, in his last full season in the minors, Allen did, and he was with the Chicago Wolves. He did everything he could have possibly done that season. Like, and I don't have the list of awards in front of me, so I might get one of these wrong. But if I remember correctly, he had the lowest goals allowed, and he was like voted goaltender of the year, and he was just, and maybe like a first team All Star. I mean, he had a phenomenal season, and the Blues basically said he's going to be up here next season, and so I mean he's capable. I mean look, a lot of goalies, they play in the minors, and then you have goalies who do great in the minors, and then they do okay in the NHL. But Allen, I mean, did phenomenal in the minors, so it's safe to think that it would take him a couple of years. But yeah, I mean he's arrived. He's big time now. I mean, he was big time before, but I mean, he's still a young guy. I mean, he can keep going up. I mean, a goalie peaks at what, early to mid 30s,
Yeah, I think that's probably a
can
good number.
play until
I
they're
mean,
40. I mean,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. So that's awesome. I'm happy for him doing so well. I would love to see, as much as I make fun of the Penguins, I would like to actually see them in the finals, and I'd like to see them win again. I think that would be fun. I think it kind of sucked when, okay, so when you had all the teams hoarding all the talent, Montreal in the 70s or whatnot, Edmonton in the 80s, sure, that kind of got boring when you had these teams win 3-4 in a row. But at the same time, I think it's kind of terrible too if like every season you got a new champion, which actually that hasn't been the case because you've had like what, Chicago, Boston, LA, Chicago, LA, Chicago. So I mean that could get tedious too. But I think it'd be fun. It'd be awesome to see a back-to-back champion.
Well, you know my opinion on that. I'd love to see that, but at the same time, it's like it's more about for those of us that are fans and we're hockey fans in general. We can find solace in probably almost anything. I mean, you could pick let's say the two least strongest teams in the playoffs, and if they end up in the finals, hockey fans are still going to watch.
Right.
It's just you're not going to get the casual fans that latch onto that. So when we make the joke, hey, Nashville's going to play Ottawa, and NBC's going to go bankrupt because of it. Well, that's not entirely false. I mean, because they play on those storylines. So you could try to play on the underdog storyline and all that, and that's great. But the only people that are going to pay attention are the people in that market. Penguins, I mean, obviously the Penguins have Crosby. Crosby's been the face of the league since he came into the league. And, he's still playing at an elite level. He's surrounded by hugely talented players. I mean, Malkin in his own right is top 5, probably top 3 player in the league. And somehow, some way, the Penguins keep bringing guys up through Wilkes-Barre. They dropped in a line up just on a whim because of an injury here and there, and they come out looking like superstars. I mean, look, they've got the guys that are playing with Crosby right now. Yeah, granted, Sheary's had kind of an off, first round, but overall, these guys are like Jake Gensel. I mean, come on. I wouldn't have expected him to be as good as he is, but he's playing on the line with the greatest players in the world. So, there's all these storylines that feed into that. So having them in the finals, I mean, you might get tired of hearing the same ones over and over again, but it also might bring in a lot more fans and to watch the game. I don't know. I'm not a marketing guy by any means, but there's so many people that fall on the other side of that too, that are like, oh, Crosby again. I'm so sick of Crosby. Every time a new card set comes out, Crosby's on the box or on the package, and you're like, I'm not even buying that just out of spite.
I can't think of something he's been on lately, but you're gonna prove me wrong here.
Right there.
Okay,
Peachy Platinum.
Peachy Platinum. Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yeah. Well, I mean, The last thing I opened was Fleer Showcase, and that had Patrick Laine on the box.
Laine actually got a box cover, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey. Not as great as the EA box cover for the NHL games, but let me ask you this. I know if the Capitals made it to the finals, they'd have to go through the Penguins. But would you be happy for Ovechkin if he won a Stanley Cup?
No.
What if they didn't go through? Okay, that's fine. That's fair. I feel like he's accomplished everything but that.
Well, and that's exactly it. How many players were great players and pinnacle of their profession didn't win a cup?
I mean, we could think of a couple.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys out there that didn't win a cup. So does that discount anything he's done as a player? No. Is he going to be in the Hall of Fame without a cup? Yes. Will he be easier? Will be a first ballot if he gets a cup? Yes. But
I feel a lot of people knock Ovechkin because he's not North American. So then they'll always have this argument of like, well, he's not as good as this player, and then the first thing they point to is this player won the cup or won 2 cups or whatever. And I feel that like Ovechkin, I mean, he's starting to get his due. I mean, he surpassed Rocket Richard's goal record, but and people noticed, obviously, like, okay, maybe it's time to rethink this. But I feel like because he's Russian, that if he was Canadian and named Sidney Crosby and did all the same things he did, everybody would be talking about how great he was.
That's a hard comparison, man. I don't know. I mean, okay. Let start from here.
Okay.
So, would you say, in no particular order, okay, would you say that the top 5 players in the NHL are probably Crosby, Malkin, Ovechkin, Kane, and Tate? Go that far and say those are probably your top 5.
I mean, yeah,
Maybe,
without thinking too hard about it, those would be the ones that I ramble off the cuff. But I'd really have to put McDavid in there. I mean, he'd have to be in that same breath as those players, and maybe I would even drop Taves off that list. Sure.
Fine, top 5, top 6, whatever.
All right.
So if those are your guys, right, and you're saying, well, maybe Ovechkin doesn't get the respect that he deserves because he's not a North American skater. Well, Malkin's in that list. He's got 2 cups. So he's from the same place that Ovechkin is. Does he get the respect because he has the cups?
I think he does.
Or does Malkin get respect because he's a damn good player?
I think he gets respect.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he...
Do you think it's amplified because he's got the hardware? I mean, he's won Art Ross trophies. He's won scoring titles.
Both won
He's done all that same stuff. Yeah, he's done all of that same kind of stuff. But he has the cups. So how do you differentiate that? I'm not saying Malkin's better than Ovechkin. I'm not saying Ovechkin's better than Malkin. I'm not saying Crosby's better than Ovechkin. I'm just saying, simply for the body of work, I can respect what Ovechkin has done. I don't need, for my own satisfaction, him to get a cup in order for me to think, oh, now all of a sudden he's now the greatest. Mm-hmm. Because he's proven everything but that. And just as well as anybody else, one player doesn't win a cup. It's got to be the supporting cast.
Right.
You've got to have solid goaltending. You've got to have good defense. And it's taken the Capitals a while to get to that point. So, dumping $10, $12 million on one player each and every year for a contract but think of how many other players that you could have that could be role players that could build a team around. Mm-hmm. That's the same problem the Blackhawks have. I mean, you've got $12 million tied up in 2 guys?
More than that. More than that.
Or no, yeah, it's like 20. It's like 20 some million.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're both at least 10. So you got Taves and Kane at 10 something. So you got over $20 million tied up in two guys for long term. And I'm not saying they don't do what they've done. I mean, they've got cups. They've won cups since they signed those long-term deals. So it's obviously paid off. But think about this. Taken a little bit less than they did before. How many more players could they have brought in that may have sped up the defensive play? Because that's what they're getting criticized for.
Right.
Is the defense has lost a step, or guys just weren't, the passing that they've had that was like pristine and magnificent in the years that they won the cup, it just wasn't there this year. Mm-hmm. So, you get that on a team. Ovechkin's obviously he's the breadwinner on that team. So you have to build the rest of the team around him. And I think even though the Capitals are good at trophy and they play well during the regular season, they get into the playoffs and they run into these buzzsaws with these upstart teams that they got nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. And they're just going for it. So I don't know that I necessarily need Ovechkin to have a cup. Now, again, I'm speaking as a Penguins fan, but I'm also speaking as a hockey fan. Winning the cup doesn't take anything away from everything that he's done, I think.
Okay, that's a solid argument.
That's just my opinion. I mean, obviously, opinions are
so. Yeah, that's all sports talk. That's all sports talk is opinion. With statistics thrown in as fact.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah. Anyway, so changing gears here. I actually want to talk a little bit about. So it's been the playoffs, and as you know, I've been pretty active in playing Top Skate, the fantasy games on that. And so for those of you who have not been really following Top Skate or have been like buying or collecting the digital cards but not really playing the daily games, let me just tell you what's happening now. So they are doing all these playoff contests, and they gave everybody playoff packs. Like you get a free playoff pack, and the boost on these cards is times 15. So if you scraped and scrimped and traded, because I didn't buy a lot of coins. I did a lot of trading. I wanted to have a gold Brent Burns card, and I got one. And it took me a long time to get there, but I got there. I just had to do a lot of trading for it, for like low level cards, and just merged them. But now it's funny because if you had any cards with a 10-time boost, now everybody can pretty much get cards with 15-time boosts just for the cost of the pack. And so, first of all, I think I don't know how I quite feel about that. Like, I feel like if I was playing all season, like I've been pretty much, I didn't really play I played for a little while, then I stopped and I just focused on building the card, just building the sets. And then I went back and started playing the fantasy again. And, now it's like, okay, so somebody could just spend $50 on coins, buy a ton of packs, get all these cards with 15 times boosts, and all the cards that I worked hard to accumulate over the season to merge into better cards are worth less than what they would normally be in like a regular contest. Have you noticed that, or do you have a thought on that?
I see where you're coming from on that. Because I haven't delved into the contest as much as you have. I've done mostly like the free ones throughout the year, and then when the playoffs started, I just did the free entry playoff one. I haven't really bought any other than that initial pack that they gave everybody that had like 3 cards in it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the award pack. Well, I don't know if you call it an award pack. Whatever you get at the end of the daily contest, you get like one playoff card as a reward. Well, at least I do, because my team always sucks, so I only get one.
Well, no, some give you 1, some give you 3, some give you 5, depending on the contest.
So I've only been getting 1, and this is a completely separate issue, but every one that I get is of a team that's been eliminated.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Even use them, but every one that seems to come out is all as of a player that's already been, the team's been wiped out. But I've noticed that they do score a lot of points. Even the B and the C team players are, a couple hundred. You're still doing
couple thousand,
still doing pretty well. But I can see what you're saying by the fact that you've time and energy to bump everything up, and now all of a sudden here's an easily attainable one that's 5 times more that took you half the season just to get.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're 15 times Jake Gunsel. How do you say his name?
Gensel.
Okay, your Jake Gensel card with the 15 times boost is all of a sudden better than my Brent Burns with the 10 times boost that I worked hard for all season. Although what's funny is that I kept getting the cards like you said, and it depends which, like, I basically figured out which ones paid more. So the Topps Hockey Night, if you get a certain amount of points, it wasn't even where you placed, it was just how many points you got. So if you got more than 10,000 points, you'd get a pack with 5 cards. And they all had 15 times boost. So I kept playing that one. And eventually I accumulated 4 Brent Burns cards. Unfortunately, he had a terrible playoff series. Otherwise, he didn't do as good as he did in the regular season. So, but what I noticed about this is a couple of things. And this worries me. One is that Topps, okay, by giving everybody free cards and basically saying, okay, those cards that you accumulated during the season, come and play this game. That entices people who haven't been playing to start playing because they'll say, oh, okay, well, this is a jumping on point for everybody. The other thing is that they've raised the prices of the contests. You know how they do the weekly face-off, usually on a Saturday? It's usually around 35,000 coins. They upped it to 75,000 coins. And then even like the Topps daily fantasy, like they'd usually cost about 5,000 coins per contest. So something like 4,995. They raised all of these to like, some of them are 8,000, some of them are 5,000, and then they even had other ones like Eastern Conference Clash, Western Conference Clash, and then they even started picking out like some, like just certain series, like Rangers versus Canadians, and it's not always the same every night. And so if you wanted to play all of those contests, there's no way you could do that without buying coins. Like I was always
you'd have to drop a lot of money.
Yeah, I see. The thing, what I would do is, you get 10,000 free coins a day. I would spend my 10,000 on the daily fantasy hockey. Then you get 25,000 every Friday or whatever, and then I'd watch some of their videos or whatever, and then just get enough to like do the weekly face off. And then I would do the free ones too. And then once in a while I might skip a day here or there and say, I don't have a lot of great guys in these guys who are playing in these Friday games, so I'm probably not even going to place. So I would just ignore those. But now it's impossible to... And the thing is that they're doing this big contest where you can win physical prizes, a signed jersey, a signed picture of Claude Giroux, a Topps skate hockey puck. And these prizes are for like the first or the top 100 people. So, after like 2 days, I'm like, well, I'm not going to place. I am like so... And I was like playing every contest. And then after like a day or two, I was just like, well, unless I spend a lot of money into this, I'm not going to place. And so that's what worries me about this, is that maybe the app isn't as successful as they had hoped.
I don't know if I would go that far. I think it's fairly successful. I mean, the amount of people that are on there and the direction it took. I mean, if you look, I don't know if you've downloaded the latest version of Bunt for this year.
Have not.
But Bunt was reimagined, and it's very similar to how they did the Skate app.
Okay.
Bunt used to be very, at least for me on an Android phone, it was very clunky.
Yes.
And it didn't matter what update it was, still really clunky, and things were difficult to move around and find and that kind of stuff. It's not really like that anymore. It's more like the Skate app. That I'd like to fix, but a lot of it's based off of that. And I think what Topps did is they did Skate like they did in order to figure out how to fix the way Bunt was set up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the Skate app was pretty successful.
From a functionality standpoint, yes. But when you have your paid contests and you only have 100 people, and that was funny, like towards the end I was placing like somewhere between 40 and 60, but there would only be like 100 people playing the paid ones.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Card apps and trading apps are still something that's, I mean, yeah, they've been around for a few years now, but it's still fairly new. Mm-hmm. And to take somebody that would normally be a collector of cardboard, and automatically and try to sell them on this idea of, well, you can't touch it, mm-hmm. and you can't open it out of a pack, but you can log into this app and there'll be a little video on the screen of a pack being opened, and then you virtually own this card. You don't have a physical card, but it's in your phone, and there it is. You don't get a lot of people to do that. Hockey fans are a lot more fickle than I think a lot of other sports are. And ultimately, Topps went after the baseball portion of the market share way more than they did the other sports. I think they did the sports of necessity just to capture, bucks here and there.
Oh
But
yeah.
that's what it all boils down to. It's money. People spend thousands of dollars on these digital apps. Thousands. And that's not an exaggeration. You think to yourself, I'm not going to buy this 99-cent app. I'd rather find something else for free. People are spending thousands of dollars on fake cards. Really, that's what they're doing for the enjoyment of it. You can go any time of day onto eBay and the like and find people selling the digital cards that they opened, and basically you buy their digital card and they trade it to your account.
Mm-hmm.
And that's become a marketplace now. And some of
Yeah.
these cards are selling for hundreds of dollars. And it's a virtual card that they've decided to say that there's only 10 of, or whatever. We're just using it as an example. But what is 10 of? Is there 10 of a card? No, there's 10 of a picture. There's 10 of a picture of a card.
Of a
But people
digital
are so
file, right?
caught up in this whole thing because you can go in your hockey room and you can look around and there's probably hundreds and hundreds of boxes and albums and everything else, and you
Mm-hmm.
can look around, my little man cave here, and there's dozens and dozens of binders and boxes, and it takes up a lot of space. Now somebody can collect 10,000 cards in no time, and they're all here on my little digital device.
I know, but it doesn't feel the same.
It doesn't feel the same to a collector, but the people that are out there aren't the normal collectors that are spending all this money, and that's what Topps is trying to target. And Upper Deck with the with the packs and everything
Yeah.
else. They're going after the people that would rather just have the thrill of the hit, and I'm only going to get the hit, or I'm only going to get the limited edition cards, and I'm going to try to flip them to somebody else that's out there, and I'm going to spend whatever it takes to get it because it is what it is. I mean, I've seen, I follow quite a few people on Twitter that always post the stuff that they're opening in the Bunt app,
Mm-hmm.
and not compare this to Skate because obviously the audience is much larger.
Yes.
But everything that I see them open and they're like, oh, I hit this card today. Well, I look at what the card is and I look at what the set that it comes from, the insert set, and it's out of a pack that the minimum to buy that pack and get one guaranteed whatever it is,
Right.
is 50,000 coins or more.
Wow.
So, and the odds of getting it are, in most cases, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 15, 1 out of 50.
Right.
Some of those autograph cards are like 1 out of 160 packs and stuff like that. So you're sitting there busting 50,000 coin packs, just one after the other. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I don't think digital world anytime soon is going to kill the actual world, but it definitely impact
Mm-hmm.
in a few years down the road,
Mm-hmm.
especially if sports licensing becomes a little more loose when it comes to digital application. You won't see, I think a lot of the exclusive deals will go away, but on the digital side, just like Topps was able to produce a hockey with logos and players. Well, they got a license, but only for digital.
Right.
Same with the NFL. Their NFL app, they have a license, but only for digital. So, if it starts to go that direction, I mean, Panini has an app already. Topps has an app. Upper Deck has an app. I mean, heck, Upper Deck seems like they're putting everything into digital now. I mean, every set that comes out, every new product that hits the market, it seems like there's going to be a version of.
Well, the
So,
coins aren't digital. You buy them.
What's that going to do to the
but they're
card
not.
values? I mean, you're spending actual money, and yeah, if you get hits, you can get the real cards and things like that.
Right.
But
Right.
we're talking, you're okay. You're gonna throw, SP Muse. It's going to be available on the digital app.
Mm-hmm.
So you can buy a box or you can buy a case. And you can open it all digitally. And what do you get? Well, you're going to get all the hits. And that's it. All your base cards are digital base cards, which nobody
I think that's
cares about
fine
base cards.
because the people who are buying lots and lots of boxes of, say, like SP Authentic or something, I just threw that out there, SP Game Used or whatever, they don't care about the base cards. You don't know how many times I've walked into a card shop and the dealer will just have a small stack of cards on the counter and he'll just say, "Oh, here, Sal, you can have these." Some guy came and he bought 3 boxes of this high-end product and he didn't want the base cards, he just wanted the jerseys and the autographs, and just take the, you can have these, or here, you can have them all for $2 or whatever, and that's the thing, and I thought that EPAC was good for that sort of thing, because I remember watching somebody break a case and them leave behind like 1,000 cards or whatever because they just didn't care. They literally did not care about that. So I think that's fine. Although there might be another solution for that sort of thing. Maybe just have your low end cards for set builders and then your high end cards that have hits, and don't have any crossover between the two. And then that way the people who want the high-end cards are just buying the high-end boxes, and the people who, like me, who just want to build sets and don't care if I get this sick jersey auto patch, whatever, that somebody else can get that in the other set. That's fine.
And that's where the line, I think, is you have real product on one side, and if you make that real product suddenly available digitally, what have you done to the actual scarcity of that product? Upper Deck even said their production run of Series 2 included what was going to be available in the digital version.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to that was, how can that be? Because you don't know how many digital packs are actually going to be opened. You don't know. There's no physical thing that you can say, okay, here's 1,000 packs. Okay, this guy bought 20 and this guy bought 200 and this guy bought 50, and you can down versus people are open this digital, and what's left? Is it going to run out? Is there not going to be any more?
I don't think it runs out. I think they just pick a day to end it, and then they end it.
Okay, so you pick a day to end it. Now, what is that going to do to the physical product? Well, it's going to do exactly what it has done. You look at the sites like Sports Lots and check out my cards. Now, all of a sudden, like the $1, $2, $3 insert cards are now 20 cents.
Right, and you found that out when you completed your canvas set.
Sure, because these are cards that 3-4 years ago, you'd find maybe some of these quarter boxes, but most of the name players would be in, when you go to card shows, they'd be in the $50 boxes, $2 to $10 boxes. They'd be all sealed away in the nice little top loaders and everything else. Now, these same cards are selling for 20 cents.
Right. I bought a Sidney Crosby, I think it was a canvas card. I think I paid like 32 cents for it.
But the other thing, too, look at the card counts. Because Upper Deck made it easy to move your cards over into your check out my cards count.
Right.
Look at the counts of some of these. Some of these cards, these $3 cards before that are now 20 cents. Look at how many of them there are.
Right. Well,
There's
year
hundreds.
Well, but this year what they did is then if you get 10 of that whatever card, you could trade it for, okay, say like the base cards, for instance. 10 base cards gets you a silver foil. But you get 10 of those silver foil, you could trade them for like a refractor type foil card. And so they're trying to remedy that by just basically making more parallels. But then that means that in order for you to get that one parallel, you see what you do there, right? What?
No, finish what you're saying.
So in order to get that one special parallel, it might take you 100 cards, whereas before it took you 10 copies of the card or 5 of a Young Gun. Now it takes you 10 times 10, so 100, or 25 of a Young Gun. And I'm just talking about like the base set. They also did that with like the portrait inserts and some of the other inserts, which we'll see how that plays out. I haven't really been following that, so I don't know. But what were you going to say?
Well, remove the digital aspect of that. Now, put that into a physical product. Okay, so you're busting up cards, and you get this little thing in there. It's a this is good. This is good to redeem, along with 10 of these other cards for uber rare gold refractor version of this card.
Right.
Okay, well, so you're looking and you're like, okay, I have this card. I got one of these in this box because, as we all hope, most boxes are collated correctly, so where you don't get very many doubles, if any at all.
Right.
So you open this box, you get no doubles, you have one card. So then you go out, you buy 2 more boxes. Out of both of those boxes, you get another one of that one card. So now you have 2. So then you go to a card show, you find some guy that's got like 3 or 4 of them, you buy those up. So now you got like 6 or 7 of them.
Right.
And so you gradually get to that point. Now you got 10, you're going to trade those in, and you're going to get this other card. How many people are going to go through the process of finding all 10 of those?
In person?
Not many.
Not very
You're going to get
many.
player collectors that are looking for all those cards. Yeah, you're not going to get people going and searching out, trying to find all this stuff. You'll have people posting on Twitter saying, "Hey, does anybody have the regular base David Krejci card or whatever?"
Right.
And they're trying to collect them all, and maybe they'll trade for them, maybe they won't. Chances are they probably won't, and a select few are going to redeem that card. Now all of a sudden, that gold refractor David Krejci card, there's only 20 of them in circulation.
Right.
Maybe. You go back to the digital app, now all of a sudden people are dropping hundreds of dollars and they're just busting packs, not even looking at what's in there, throwing all the stuff into their inventory, and then they go back and look and see, oh, well, I have 57 of the card. Okay, I'm going to redeem them. When I was doing Series 1, like every single day, but like the free packs that I would get, usually in a week's time frame, I would get at least one card that I would get 3 of, just out of free packs, for whatever reason or not. And so when I was able to like flip things to the, turn in the 10 for the whatever it was, the prism, or what was it called, the rainbow or something, whatever that parallel was, the silver foil. Yeah, I was able to get a bunch of the silver foils I wanted pretty quickly, like without having to do much effort whatsoever.
Right.
And in the real world, busting packs and things like that, it's not how things work. So what digital actually does, it's taken kind of a task-oriented thing and kind of streamlined it to the point where people can get these things a lot easier and a lot quicker and turn them into the secondary market faster. So now all of a sudden, it's the whole supply and demand thing. There's a much bigger supply. There's a lot less demand.
And
so those of us that are looking to be completists, and we're all in the same marketplace, those of us that are the set builders, we're relishing in the fact that we can build the Upper Deck canvas set for $6 when 3 or 4 years ago, when digital didn't exist and we were trying to build the canvas set, it probably would have cost us $100 or more to put together all of the base cards to that set. Now, give them a 10 spot on Check Out My Cards, and you can pretty much have the entire thing, minus maybe the Young Guns. But even some of those are 60 cents, $1,
right,
if that. So I think it's diminished card value significantly for those sets that have come out. And the more Upper Deck keeps releasing those and making those available on digital, I think it's going to continue to lower card values, especially on the secondary market. There's no way to avoid it unless they come out and say what you said, like your point exactly. If they make, okay, we're coming out with, I don't know, we're coming Upper Deck Retro again. So we're going to release this. There's going to be a version available to the public that wants to go out and buy a box.
Right.
But then on digital app, we're going to make a separate version that might be slightly different, that's only available digitally. and they don't cross over.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see head to head in the marketplace where these cards go versus where these cards go. You could measure that. I don't know that there's a good way to be able to do that now.
You're proposing a controlled experiment. You have your control group
Hey,
and
if
your
somebody
test
wants
group.
to take me up, if somebody wants to take me up on that offer and test it out, I'd be glad to be the physical product tester.
That's funny.
If anybody's listening.
So, rounding things out, was it a couple days ago, or I read about this today actually, but that linesman Don Henderson, the one that was hit in the back of the neck by Dennis Wideman last year on my birthday.
Yes.
He's suing Wideman and the Flames for $10.25 million.
Yes.
I hope he gets it. Well, he won't get it. They'll settle out of court for less, and that's fine.
There's a lot of elements to this whole thing.
Okay.
And it raises a lot of questions.
Okay.
If this was two players, let's say, I don't know, let's not even use names. Let's say it was an incident between two players where one player sucker punched another player.
Steve Ott and Dennis Wideman. We can just use those two.
Okay, sure. Let's throw those two out there.
I don't even
let's
know
say
what team
a player
Ott
came
is
up
on anymore, but anyway, hope he's not on the Flames.
No, he's on a team in the playoffs right now.
All right, let's say Steve Ott and Jordan Tutu. There we go.
All right, so let's say one of those guys sucker punched another guy and grabbed him by the back of the head and rode him down to the ground into the ice and smashed his face off.
The Bertuzzi special.
Let's just say that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not calling it anything.
Okay.
So let's just say hypothetically that happened. I've always been the whole proponent of. Okay, I like fighting in hockey. There, I said it. I know it's not a popular thing anymore. They're trying to take fighting out of hockey. I don't think that'll ever happen. Fighting will be part of hockey. It just is. Guys are given the opportunity to take out their aggression. It's just gonna stay there. So I'm not talking about that part of the game. What I'm talking about is there's a unwritten rule with players playing against each other. And when those rules are broken, people take it into their own hands to correct it. So retaliation seems to be a part of the game. Generally, if you're the retaliator, you're going to get penalized. You know, the whole instigator type thing that goes on. But that's between players, and players handle that on the ice. And when things go too far, there's repercussions for it. Do I think, you know, in an incident like that where it's totally out of left field and it happens, it doesn't happen all the time. And it's a rare thing that somebody would go after somebody and deliberately hurt them like that. And in those cases, the unfortunate event happened where you know, one player sued the other, and it took a long time to settle it, and it eventually settled out of court, but it was a long drawn out process.
Right.
And this is different. This is a completely different scenario because it's not there. It's a referee.
Right.
And I don't care what sport it is, any sport. If there's an official or if there's a referee, the first rule is don't touch them.
Right.
Period. And it's like that in every single sport. You put your hand on an official, there's going to be problems. Even if you didn't mean it, there's going to be problems. Because it's happened before. You don't touch an official. You're taught that long beforehand. Now, I don't know what was going on in Wideman's head. Nobody knows. People say, oh, he had a concussion. He was delirious. He thought it was another player, whatever. And most of those people saying that was the Canucks organization.
The Flames?
The Flames organization. Right. I don't know why I said Canucks. Begins with the same letter.
Calgary Canucks, yeah.
It's in the same country.
It uses the same alphabet. Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you remember when the whole incident went down, the Flames did everything to basically defend Wideman and protect the organization because they messed the entire thing up. The way they
Right.
handle it, they screwed it up. And so I don't know that I believe lawyer injuries that were in that trial.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call them? The briefing
Mm-hmm.
that was released to the public that showed everything.
Yeah.
I don't know that I believe all those because you can turn on, UPN or the WB at any time during the day and see 15 lawyer commercials all advertising the same thing.
In a wreck, need a check.
Typical. Yeah, exactly. Glenn Lerner, he's the heavy hitter. He'll get you. He'll
Got to
get
bring
you
a
your check.
cannon to this fight.
Yeah. So all of these guys, they know how to do. They know what they're doing. It's typical boilerplate lawyer speak. Has he returned to a game? Has he been
No.
to referee?
No.
No, he has not. Is he suffering problems, neck problems, back problems, knee problems? Probably. I mean, he got hit pretty damn hard, and it was totally out of the blue and totally unexpected, and he was not ready for it.
No.
So
and Wideman's a big dude.
he got.
And he's a strong dude.
I agree, and I do not discount any of those injuries. All the other stuff, the psychological, the this, the that, the other. I mean, he's got, long-term, brain injury. He's got vision problems. He's got, you name it. Every symptom that's on every drug that's advertised on TV, he's got,
Mm-hmm.
and he's suing them because of that. But I think he's well within his right to do what he's doing for the simple fact that there's an organization that tried to back a guy that was knowingly in the wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and still got behind him. And I'm all about team first and protect your teammates and all that kind of stuff. But when somebody is completely in the wrong and everyone knows it, you don't put your back behind that horse. You don't.
Yeah, that was pretty
You
bad.
You can't. And I think, and that's why I said, I'm not, what happens on the ice stays on the ice kind of thing is generally my opinion, but realm because it ended up being an official. And what does Wideman do? Wideman was suspended. Does he play? He still plays. This guy never put the stripes back on.
Right.
So, I mean, more power to him. I agree with you though. He's not going to get 10.25 million. It's going to settle out of court. It's going to settle for a fraction of that, but it's going to make a statement. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and that's.
And
I mean, referees can work a long time. So I don't know what a ref makes in a season, but they can you got refs who can ref at 50, and this career was ended by that.
What does Dennis Wideman make in a season?
I don't know, but
you know that
a couple mil.
Yeah, so I mean, I guarantee you, a referee's not paid a couple $1 million.
No.
So, and sometimes refs work every single night. So, I don't know. It's it's one of them things.
Well,
it was a freak thing that happened, and we'll see how it works out.
Last thing I want to talk about is the what was it, a couple days ago I got a little I have the NHL app on my phone, and sometimes the information they send is useful, sometimes it's kind of dumb, but it was like, well, this I just thought was dumb. They announced that the results of the expansion draft will be unveiled at the awards ceremony in Las Vegas. So is that like after like the winners get their prizes, then the losers get their prize? Losers, I don't know. I mean, okay, this isn't going to the 1991 San Jose Sharks, although some guys wanted to go there for different reasons. But I mean, really? Like, I feel this is ridiculous. Like, because if you think about it, the the guys that go to expansion teams, they're the cast-offs, right? More or less. I mean, they might get a good player. I mean, yes, the Panthers got John Van Beesbrook for reasons we won't get into, but you do end up with a couple of good players on expansion teams. One of my favorite hockey cards is it's a card of Harry Howell with the Golden Seals. Just a nice head and shoulder portrait. He's got like that I don't know if he's wearing, it's his yellow jersey, and it's got like a bright pink background, and he's got like gray hair because he's like probably in his 40s or close to it. And I love that card. And I go, wow, man, like even really good players ended up on some bad teams in their career. It's just part of it. But the award show, I mean, I just feel like who is that comic a couple years ago that he didn't host the awards, he hosted the fantasy draft.
He hosted I'm not sure. I know Jay Moore hosted the award show.
Okay, Jay Moore, but then who was that other guy? Was it like Rob Riggleman or Riggle, or I don't know.
Oh, Rob Riggle. Yeah, Rob
Riggle. Right. So I feel like he needs to. I forgot about that. Yeah, because he's making fun of Tim Thomas because he's like, you're old when the team that you were drafted by isn't even around anymore. Ha ha ha. Right. And like, I feel like he needs to like be revealing each player like one at a time. Like, like the Family Feud board where it says survey said, and it like flips and you see like whatever. Like, I feel like they need to like reveal the names one at a time, and then he needs to like roast that player. Like, oh, Brent Seabrook, well, I guess that's going to free up a little money in Chicago, don't you think? You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, hey, you can gamble some of that $7.25 million when you're not practicing for the Golden Knights or whatever, right? Like, I feel like, I don't know, it just feels dumb to me.
I got a better idea.
All right.
Yeah. Since it's in Vegas.
Yep.
Put up a giant Keno board.
Okay.
And just start drawing Keno numbers, and whatever number gets drawn, whoever wears that number is automatically on the new Vegas team.
Oh, so like if you pick the 2, every player with the number 2 would go on that team.
Yeah, every player with the number 2 is open for that pick, and then somebody gets picked.
Oh, okay, so you wouldn't get 29 defensemen.
No. You couldn't do that because that violates the rules of the draft. So you just pull Keno ball numbers, and then if you happen to pull Keno ball that there is nobody with that number, I don't know. You'd have to come up with a different rule for that. Mm-hmm. But that'd be Vegas. Keno, and people are playing the cards and playing their numbers. For those of you that know what Keno is, I don't know if any.
I don't. I'm just imagining it's like a bingo thing where they draw the numbers.
It's kind of like bingo. You pick so many numbers and then try to see how many you get right when it randomly picks the balls. So kind of like the lottery, sort of, but it's quick and they happen a lot.
I mean,
but anyway.
Look,
I see your point. It's kind of over the top and ridiculous and how they're going to do it, but at the same time, this isn't like any of the other drafts. They're trying to set this draft up with a little more excitement, I think. So the fact that the awards are in Vegas, the new team's in Vegas.
Right.
Hey, well, it'd be even more interesting if they announced the players that were drafted onto the Vegas team before even telling the players. Now that would be interesting. And see how many of them are actually sitting in the audience, and then they immediately put the camera on them when they find out that they were sent to the other team. Now that would be must-see TV right there.
Oh, dude, that would be great. That'd be like with the Hunger Games when they like draw the names.
Yep.
And then you have two peacekeepers drag you to the stage, and then they put a Golden Knights jersey on you, and then they put a microphone in front of you and make you give a speech, on the spot. That would be so wrong.
Because I guarantee at least 70% of the players that they put the camera on would immediately be on their cell phones calling their agents.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I had a no movement clause. How is this even possible?
Exactly.
You said you'd get me sent to Florida where there's no no income tax.
There's no income tax about it either.
Yeah, hell, I'd want to play for the Panthers just for that reason alone.
Actually, there's income tax. There's just no state tax. So.
Well, okay.
There's no state income tax. You still have to pay federal, but there's no state. Yeah, there's no state income tax.
Feds are always going to get their cut, but yeah, no, that'd be, yeah. I could think of the 25 reasons why I would want to do that. What was I going to say? I guess that's all I was going to say. I guess I can't really top a Hunger Games reference at the end of our podcast. So
there you go.
Well, thank you for listening to the end of this, and hopefully we haven't driven you away from listening to the next one, whenever that is.